welcome to It's Only a Prototype podcast. I am Tom Constable, and with me is Phil, the Director of D2M Product Design Agency. We're actually in his workshop now. I mean, Phil, this is the kind of place I shouldn't be allowed in because there are so many awesome tools around, but just tell me about it.
Yeah, so we've got the 3D printers behind you. We've got a couple more in the studio because the guys are still working while we're filming this. And then we've got a CNC machine, and we've got the machine shop with kind of pillar drills and all that kind of stuff. So basically, whether it's a wood, metal or plastic product, we can prototype it here. And most of what we do prototyping-wise actually is early stage feasibility stuff to make sure the thing actually works before people invest any money in it.
So for someone new to the podcast, can you give an overview of the podcast series and also the amazing guest we've got today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're making this series because we really want to fill the gap, which is that people talk about their successes, but don't talk so much about the failures and things that don't go wrong. But that's where you can really learn the lessons. So this whole series is for product innovators to help them take actionable insights and listen to interesting stories about developing and launching new physical products. In this episode, we are privileged to be joined by Lisa Hicks. Lisa's developed a truly sustainable product that was massively successful on Dragon's Den. Let's get into it.
Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know it has been super busy after what has happened in the den, which we will get to very momentarily. But for those that maybe haven't watched Dragon's Den recently, would you mind introducing yourself, a little bit about your background and what you find yourself doing now?
Yeah, so I'm Lisa, background corporate finance for a long time until I moved to Hong Kong in 2004, newly married, set up my first business there. I'm a qualified personal trainer and group exercise instructor, so I did that, which was awesome. Loved that. Had my first son there, moved to Denver, Colorado, had my daughter there, moved back to Hong Kong, had my third child, second son there. Then we moved to Vietnam.
Wow.
Ship had sailed on children, so there's just the three. Back here in 2014, I guess, set up a little property portfolio. While my husband was out at work and the children were at school, I did that. Fast forward a few years and we all went into lockdown. And then the idea for what I'm now doing was sparked in me from a realization that we all have the ability to be better shoppers from a sustainable point of view. So that's what drove me to do what I'm now doing.
Go on then, we've got Snope here. So please tell us more about Snope and kind of starting off probably with a big top level what it is, but then the origins of it.
Okay, so top level what it is, it's solid soap and solid shampoo dispenser that takes solid bars and dispenses a fine snow-like powder, which is why it's called Snope, because it looks like snow and it's soap. Each of the bars replaces 10 250ml bottles of liquid wash. Wow. And will give about 1,000 hand washes. It came, or the idea was sparked because of the amount of rubbish that I realised in lockdown my family of 5 was generating on a weekly basis. We've all got families, right? We're normally together for holidays and Christmas, and we don't reflect on our choices. We enjoy the time off with the children, right? That's really what happens. But I found in lockdown, it was a time to reflect. I was homeschooling a then 8-year-old. And if I know more about the Inca Trail now than I ever did before. But I think we did have time to reflect on how we lived and the choices we made. So I made lots of changes for more eco-friendly alternatives to my everyday items. And one area we really struggled as a family was solid bars for hand, hair and body washing. 2 sons and a daughter in the middle. So my daughter didn't want to touch a bar if the boys had touched it, obviously. My eldest son was a teenager. His bar was covered in hair. I didn't want to touch that either. And my little boy, who was 8 at the time, would squeeze the bar until it flew out of his hands, and he made up a game called Where Will It Land? Would go down the toilet, on the dog, on his head, wherever. It also was not very... It doesn't look very hygienic on the sink when it goes into a mush and leaves a mess. And my husband said, I love what you're trying to do, but from a practical point of view, when we go back to our busy lives, little did we know how long lockdown was going on for, it's not practical. But before I reverted, I love a challenge. I wanted to be able to quantify what that change meant. global stats are huge. And I think it's really hard to understand what your impact in those stats are. So I broke it down. And in 2019, the UK went through 686 million hand wash bottles, 617 million shower gel, and 520 million shampoo domestically that year.
Gosh.
1.8 billion bottles from domestic hand, hair and body washing, 2.9 million tonnes from hospitality. That wasn't a figure I wanted to be part of. And people don't realise how new liquid wash has become normal, right? In the 80s, prior to the 80s, we all had imperial leather or whatever. Okay. Liquid wash is a new phenomena, really. So I did more research into the ingredients in the wash as well, because I didn't realise that hand wash, body wash and shower gel are not even soap.
Really?
What is it, then?
Detergent. It's the same as washing up liquid.
Gosh.
So soap has two fundamental elements. It's got the stripping element, which lifts the bacteria off the skin and takes it away. It's got the nourishing element. So when you lift the bacteria from the skin, you're almost moisturising your skin as you do it. Wash only has the stripping element. So every time you use it, you're constantly stripping the natural barrier off the skin, as well as the good and bad bacteria. Yeah. It's very effective. 2 to 5% of what you put on your body is absorbed by the body. So the more you strip that natural barrier, the more susceptible you are to pollutants in the environment and absorbing literally everything from your clothes to whatever. So, yeah.
Wow.
Big problem.
Indeed. So when you kind of realised all of that, what did that kind of then inspire in you?
It's interesting because I've done research for a long time on this subject. And what it inspired in me is multifold. Solids are definitely better than liquids, but not all solids are equal either.
Right.
So it's a very big brand that has a solid version of their liquid offering that comes in a little plastic bag inside the box. We all know the brand. I'm not going to mention it here. And the nasties are exactly the same in the solid as in the liquid for that brand. But people love it because they think, it's moisturising, without giving too much away. The liquid that we wash, 60% of what you put on your skin slides off and activated as well. Okay.
So 60% of it is just doing nothing, basically.
Goes straight down the drain.
Gosh, all right.
The big companies know that, so they put foaming agents in the product so that the 40% you have left goes poof and gives the illusion that you're getting a really lovely wash. What then happens is the 60% that's gone down the drain gets agitated when it hits a moving waterway like the river. That then creates a lather, a bubble, and that sits on the surface as a bubble blanket. That stops oxygenation for aquatic flora and fauna. They suffocate under the bubble blanket and it all gets washed out to sea. So when I say it's multifold, it really is. It's not just about the plastic. It's about, 1, what we're putting on our skin and the skin of our families. 2, what we're putting in the waterways. I knew I wanted a solid offering for my family, for my children, and we all should go back to that. But I also recognise that we need the convenience of a dispenser because we're all busier than ever before. I couldn't find a hybrid, so I invented one, and that's where Snope was born.
Oh, fantastic. And what did the first prototype kind of look like?
The first prototype looks really interesting. Shall I show you?
Yeah, that'd be great. Can't wait to see it.
So that
Wow.
is our first prototype. You can see it has a bar inside, still has the bar that we trialled.
Yeah.
And this was just sheer proof of concept.
Yeah.
I knew I needed a fine powder. The finer the powder, the less you need because the greater the surface area.
So how would you, for those that are listening to this on the audio podcast, how would you describe?
It's kind of, it's a bit of a Frankenstein, I would say. A big plastic unit with a top, the whole of the top rotates. Surface area underneath is greater, and that's, as it stands. The point of this one was the threads inside. So the Snope dispenser, you turn the top clockwise, it pushes a feeding ring down threads on the inside. You can see it on the prototype because it's fairly see-through. So you can see all the workings. It's a bit like one of those wine bottle openers where you see the inside, the workings on the inside. So yeah, not the prettiest, but practically excellent.
And what was the importance of these? Did you just do one prototype, then go into production? Did you go through multiple iterations? And if you did, then why? What were you trying to refine?
Yes, I did 7 prototypes, which I wouldn't recommend any business spend that amount of money on prototypes. However, having created something that didn't exist, you don't know the challenges you're going to have at each level either. It's seriously complicated. It looks simple. It is seriously complicated. So iterations changed, obviously aesthetically. The top of the original one, the whole top rotates, which is quite hard if you've got limited dexterity with your fingers and wrist. So we've gone to this much sleeker, even though it's still quite chunky, so you can turn it if you have limited dexterity. But I didn't want the whole top to rotate. The threads inside the housing, inside the dispenser, the depth of the threads, the pitch of the threads, all of that was tweaked so that you didn't have to turn the top lots of times to get the desired amount, but also you didn't get too much from one turn either. So that took several iterations. The living hinge, as you see it now, which is how you lock the door, that took several iterations to make sure it could withstand. There's no point bringing out a sustainable product that you have to replace every year or whatever. Yeah. So this has been work to destruction and is estimated to last about 25 years. So it was iterations in materials, in functionality, in the turning of the top, how much was dispensed. Some of those iterations we did, in conjunction with each other. Some we did as a one-up. So that's why I did 7. Yeah. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Until it was exactly as I wanted it to be, it wasn't coming out.
Yeah, and I wouldn't feel bad about doing 7 prototypes.
The bank balance might, but...
Well, I just think when you're doing something, do it properly.
Yeah.
Or don't do it.
Yeah, indeed. And we at D2M worked on, 1,600 projects over the years. And at the end of the day, it is better to work out the issues in prototyping than it is to try and work out in production, where you've got recalls and all sorts of other much bigger costs.
Exactly.
So maybe I'll do it in 3 or 4, but with something that's innovative, it's easy to say afterwards, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks great. It did a really good job. It's a really nice product. I bought mine earlier this week, so I'm looking forward to trying to use it and seeing how I get on. But
you are not paying me to say this, but I saw this product and for me it made so much sense because, like you say, the bars of soaps, I did want to use it more, but I have a bit of a phobia of who's used this before me.
Yeah.
What germs are on the bar of soap, etc., etc. So
particularly 3 young kids.
Well, I know what germs are on there.
Yeah, which is why you don't want a bar of soap.
So then the idea that this then grated it into this fine powder, which is fine. So then conceptually it made sense, which is why I was like, "Ooh, let's try it." But the thing that surprised me the most was how clean my hands felt afterwards using this style, because it was so fine, because it lathered up pretty naturally. Not a foaming agent in there, I assume.
Nope.
And then after the wash, my hands just felt completely different to the normal dispenser that I was using previously. So it does make a huge difference. And I recommend anyone just trying it out just to understand how what you've managed to achieve. Before we move on,
can I just jump in with that? Because that's scientifically proven that Snope gives a better wash than liquid. So you're actually seeing the results of a scientifically proven fact. Yeah. You have to create the lather by friction, right? By rubbing your hands together. During that process, you're exfoliating the dead skin cells, which liquid doesn't do. Because as soon as you rub it, it goes poof into a foam. There's no real friction needed. And if you think you've got something quite viscous in between your hands, so the friction's reduced again, it's all in the liquid. So you are actually experiencing something scientifically proven.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I really love about this, because not only is it giving the user a better result for what they want, which is washing their hands or their body or their hair, it's also going to last 25 years, which means it's sustainable in itself, because most products that we buy, we know that maybe 5-10 years it's broken in landfill. So the fact you made it so durable is great. And then also, obviously, you're cutting out all the bottles that you would have bought otherwise. And for me, that makes a truly sustainable product, because it's not only better in itself, it's also avoiding all that additional landfill.
Absolutely. There were 3 fundamental principles for me. It had to be a better washing experience, kinder, because our soap has the natural glycerine. So you're getting the moisturizer as well. You're getting that moisturizing element of the soaps. It had to be cheaper than liquids, which is quite hard to do because there's some cheaper, nasty options on the market. The average family in the UK, there's 28.3 million households, 2.4 people per average family. If they switch to Snope for hand, hair and body washing, they will save £100 a year.
That's great.
And it had to be better for the environment, both from plastic and a water pollution point of view. And I've ticked all 3 boxes, which is awesome.
On that note, I want to challenge you on that. So, so 25 years. So you've got single-use plastic, single-useful, 25 years use plastic. What happens to these dispensers at the end of those 25 years?
Great question. They're fully recyclable, but only 9% of plastic ever made's been recycled. So we can't recycle our way out of this problem. So I'm working on a repurposing initiative, working with a school as well, where we will chip it down and re-extrude it into something else that we would typically buy virgin for. So that can be done countless times. It's not the problem when you recycle plastic. It changes the molecular structure of the actual material, which is why it can only be done once. People say to me, why aren't they made of recycled plastic? We haven't got the durability for how actually it works and operates in a recycled option. And like I said, eventually, my plan is there's no recycled plastic anyway. So we would run out of resource. So I wanted to start with the end in mind. It's a virgin product. However, that one unit, well, we've just passed, which I'm really proud of, we've just stopped 130,000 bottles from going into the environment just by Snope.
Wow.
So
that's a real incredible achievement. Great job.
Thank you.
I think you're just starting as well.
Just starting. A million's my...
When you get to...
Yeah, 1 million. If we can do 1 million by this time next year, I'd be very happy.
And before we move on to the Dragon's Den and really explore that in more detail, I want to know what is motivating you? Why has the environmental sustainability angle really got you motivated? So, and was there a time in your life where it made sense, or an enlightenment that made you think, hang on, we need to do something about this?
Yeah, another great question. I think as a family of 5, we live on top of the mountain, right? We love the outdoors. We're a family of scuba divers, and having seen some pollution in the sea was a real eye-opener. Really highlighted the scale of the problem. I think for us in the UK, it's hard for us to see the scale of the problem. We see it on the TV, we can see it on the news. It becomes a bit white noise as well. When you actually see it in your daily life, or for us when we were diving, it saddened me. I've really benefited from the lovely environment I've grown up in, whether that's in the UK or, as I said, we've been lucky enough to live in other countries. But travel's a huge part of my life. I love taking my children into different cultures and immersing them in a different way of life, because they need to understand they are quite privileged. All our children are privileged compared to even our upbringing, right? Or certainly mine are compared to mine. I want them to have something that they can enjoy to the level that we've enjoyed it to already. And if we don't start protecting it now, it won't be there. And it's real. It's happening in our lifetime. It's not happening 3 generations' time. It's happening now. We're all responsible for the mess. We can all do better. It's not about a couple of people doing it perfectly. It's about us all doing better. So that was when I realised the figures. The plastic was the initial shocker, 1.8 billion. We're up to 2.2 billion this year, by the way, just from domestic hand, hair and body washing. And then you understand what's going into the waterways. We're wondering why the rivers are dying. There's no fish in them anymore. Really? Are we surprised? We're all contributing. We should all be doing more.
I think we should probably talk about Dragon's Den now. Yeah. Great. So I'm desperate to hear the story. But before you tell us what happened when you actually got on the programme, what inspired you to go on the Den and apply?
I didn't apply.
Oh, really?
I was invited, which I didn't know was a thing either.
No.
So that is a thing. So
Oh, it's quite a humble brag if I ever heard. And I love that.
Thank you. We were doing well. We were growing organically, but it was slower than I would like. And with the message that I think this delivers, I wanted to do it faster. The quicker not just from a business point of view. Listen, it's got to make money or it'd be a charity, right? This is a business. It's got to make money. However, the more dispensers that are out there, the more plastic we save and the cleaner our waterways and the sea is. So I needed to amplify the message. And I was sat there working on marketing. How do I get the message out there? How do I do more on social media, doing things like podcasts and things like that? And then suddenly, ping in the inbox, Dragons or BBC have invited us onto Dragon's Den. I'd said no, because loads of people have said to me, you should take it on Dragon's Den. It'd be brilliant for Dragon's Den. I'm like, no, don't want anyone else in the business either. It's my idea. I was very closed off to investment. And then I thought, well, I just had a word with myself, to be honest. At the end of the day, the more of these that are out there, the better we all do. So I thought, why not? If I go on then they hate it, at least it's got some airtime. And that's the worst it could be. So I thought, well, let's do it. So lots and lots of due diligence between the invite and actually filming.
Yeah.
That was a massive thing. So people should never underestimate what it takes to go on there. There's hundreds of hours of due diligence. You have to prove every statement on your website, every statement you've made in social media. It's not nothing. You don't just rock up one day and you're there. It really is a really thorough process, which was great for us because we could prove everything we said anyway. Whilst we were going through the due diligence between the invite and the airing, I sadly lost my dad to sudden death. So that was really, really tough. And we touched on this before, obviously. When you run your own business, you haven't got the comfort of a company behind you. So that was a challenge. That was a real challenge. And the BBC were brilliant. They offered to film for the next season, etc. And I said no. My dad would have gone mad. If he'd thought he'd stood in my way of achieving anything, he would have been really upset with me. And that's what made me do it anyway.
Wow. So talk us through then. Obviously, you're in a difficult, really difficult emotional time.
Yeah.
You're taking the decision to go on anyway. How did you kind of get through it and what happened?
And sorry, can I ask I'm interested in even the build up to it. So how would you prepare for a pitch like that? How do you prepare does someone give you templates of how you want to pitch or how they expect you to pitch it? Or they just say, you've got 15 minutes, go? Actually,
you've got 3 minutes. Wow. I've got a 3-minute pitch. Wow. And I could talk for Wales, so that was tough. Actually, they guide you really well. So what happens is you go through the due diligence, you're proving all of your claims and everything else and that you own the business and all the shareholders and all of that kind of thing. And then you talk to, it was actually the researcher who found us, did most of it with us, which was brilliant. So you're dealing with the same person and she was absolutely brilliant. So you talk through your pitch. And she says, right, okay, we need to cut it down. So where can we cut it down? So it's you doing it. Mm-hmm. And then you have to pitch to camera, just your phone or whatever at home. And then you send that in and that's your sort of audition. And you're thinking, oh, no, because there's no feedback, is there? When you're on camera, there's nothing, you don't know if people are liking it. There's no smiles or nods. And then they come back and say, yes, you've been accepted. So, we'd just thinking, had we been accepted? We'd been accepted just before my dad died. And that's when they said, look, you can pause it. And I said no, had to go ahead with it. So we go up to Manchester the night before. My husband came with me. We're in the business together. And actually, I was really glad because I was going to go on my own originally. But with what I was going through emotionally, I thought, well, at least if he's there and I stumble, we can carry on. But we go up the night before. We're in for 6:30 in the morning on set. You build whatever your display is going to be in the back. They take loads of pictures and that, and then they disassemble it and take it in for your time. We were supposed to be on before lunch. I think we were supposed to be on about 11:30, but we didn't get in until about 2:00. So we'd been there all day. And then you pitch to the producers. So about 17 people watch you before you go in. And this was the interesting bit because they got me to change the pitch.
Oh.
Just before we went in to film.
Really?
So I didn't change what I said, but we were stood side by side talking. And then they asked me to walk across, demo it as I was talking, and all of that literally 2 hours before we went in or something. So you spent weeks doing this pitch and making sure it's parrot fashion, and go, oh, by the way, can you just walk over there, do a bit of this and show this? And so, but, yeah. So that was it. So then you film the lift bit, or as you go up to the lift, you film that, you film the walk in. So they do a bit of the filming. It's not all in one take thing, type of thing. And then, so you're waiting in the holding area where all the pictures are on the wall with the lift doors, and then the green light comes on, the lift's there, ready, and you press the button and you're in.
Wow. And how does it feel at that point when the green light's gone on?
Yeah, the lift doors open and you've got a little mark that you have to stand on in the lift, and a little mark. So everyone that comes out to the lift, if you'll notice now, looks down, there's a tiny little mark that you've got to try and see on this immense floor that you've got to stand on. In the lift, my heart was pounding out of my chest, but it wasn't fear.
Right.
It wasn't fear because of what I was going through personally. I was like, what's just happened? This has got nothing on that.
Yeah.
So in a way, it probably helped me. I do say in the lift, if you've seen the clip, my heart's pounding out my chest and the adrenaline kicks in. Totally kicks in. And then you walk in and they're sat there. They literally sat there watching you walk out the lift. You think, I hope I don't trip or whatever, where am I going to find my mark? And then that's it. The cameras are rolling continuously. Okay. So we did stop a few times, and we'll talk about that. But you can't say, oh, sorry, I fluffed that bit. Can I do it again? It's not like that. Everything that you say, they have the right to use.
Oh, wow.
So you've got to be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for people who haven't seen the episode, tell us, how did it go?
I think I could say it went very well. We had all 5 dragons pitching to us. We didn't have one I'm out at all. So even when we didn't go with, the ones we didn't go with, they didn't say, oh, well, because of that, I'm out. We didn't get that I'm out, which is awesome. They all wanted in. They could, Peter straight away, before we really got into discussions, went, look, I love it. I get it. I'm in.
That quickly?
That quickly. And I'm quite happy to be in on my own. So we were like, okay. That was the only bit we didn't prepare for, the success.
Yeah.
Didn't in a million years think all 5 dragons would pitch to us. I was like, well, Tuka can source everything. You've got Sarah, who's built her whole business from a one product thing. You've got Deborah on the sustainability, but also she's a brilliant business person. Stephen said, look, come in, join our teams, and we'll show you all the marketing and all of that. And then Peter's global, right?
Yeah.
So I knew what they could all give us, but to have them sat there telling you that was just, beyond my wildest dreams.
That's so impressive. Such a great job, and such a credit to what you've managed to achieve to get all 5 dragons pitching to you. So fantastic.
Thank you.
And that the fierceness of your kind of personality comes through, that determination to do it and do it properly and be successful. It clearly comes across from this conversation. It comes across. Anyone who knows you will not be surprised by that, and it came across on the TV show as well. Did it change? You went in with the adrenaline, the heart pumping, but once they started, the surprise thing happened when they started reverse pitching you. Do you have like out of body experience? Or how did that feel when that was happening?
Yeah, interestingly. So when I go over, you'll see the clip, or for anyone that hasn't, I'm asked to go over and demo the product. Okay, so I demoed the product, and obviously the Snope lands in your hand so you can see the powder. Stephen said, oh, I couldn't see it. So I did it again, and he still couldn't see it. So I did it for a 3rd time. And he said, no, I still can't see it. I said, right, do you want to come and have a look? Because it's just, and then they go, cats, because he's gotten out of his chair and he can't do that. And it was that moment where I just went, it's okay, gloves are off now, because it's funny, isn't it? Something that you're not expecting can just, the tension in the room just dropped. Mm-hmm. It was lovely. He couldn't come and have a look. They told him off. He had to sit back down. I washed my hands, so we carried on. But it was in that moment rather than the pitching. When they started pitching, you kind of go into it's not an out-of-body experience, but you're computing things you never thought you'd have to work on. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I was just stood there like this, I think. Smile and nod. I did a lot of that. And they were arguing with each other as well, which you don't see. So Tuka wasn't getting it. So Sarah's going, come on, Tuka, it's a barn. She turns it, you know. So it was kind of, it's a lot less scary, a lot less, it's intense, don't get me wrong, but a lot less intense because there's a lot of toing and froing that goes on that they don't air, right? We had 14 and a half minutes and we were in there for nearly 2 hours. So
we cut a massive amount out there.
So your pitch is 3 minutes.
yeah.
And you're in there for 2 hours.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't think I have any sweat left in me. I just you.
Yeah. Yeah. So people say they didn't ask you for the figures. They didn't go through the figures. Oh, they did. But we answered. So there's no...
It's that TV value.
Exactly. It's a show, right? Yeah. So if you're going, what's this? Bang, 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 bang. And we do. We over-prepare. I certainly do. And then go with the flow. And that's what happened. So I was part way through the pitch when Stephen got up and we had to cut that bit. And I just went... Whew.
Yeah.
So that was nice. But they, you know... I think in the press, sometimes they get a bit of a hard time. I can honestly say they were totally respectful, totally lovely. At the end, they all got up and gave us a cuddle and said, you know, good luck with everything. And if we can ever help in the future, get the details. So, you know, they were great.
Yeah, that's great.
And how did you choose which dragons to go with?
This was an interesting. So we went to the wall twice, which they don't show either. I really loved and do love Sarah because she's basically done the same thing I have. She's invented one thing that she's going to build, or that she's built upon. She's great in the UK and the US. Deborah gives us eco credentials straight away. So that's where I said to her, she said, what do you want from me? And I said, your credibility. There's a lot of greenwashing out there, a lot. This isn't it. Snope isn't greenwashing. So to have her behind it tells people that already because she doesn't get involved in just anything. Yeah. She's quite, you know, diligent. Peter, obviously, is global. And global dominance is what I want because that would be the best impact this product can have. So Peter was obviously, you know, amazing to have. Stephen, he said, look, this is brilliant. This is the antithesis of everything we're doing from a bad point of view. So he wanted in. Tuka absolutely loved it and wanted to take it into retail with all his bits and pieces. So it was a really hard decision. Deborah was who we both, Anthony and I, agreed on. And this is the other thing with being in business with someone else, isn't it? They've got input, you've got input.
Not always ideal, is it, Tom?
Not always ideal, especially when the husband or your wife or your partner. But we went to the corner and Peter had said, and it does come out in the clip, that this and the Fussy, I don't know if you know the refillable deodorant brand that's very big, are so similar in message and impact. Him and Deborah are already investors in that. So he said, look, we could just repeat.
Yeah.
So it made sense to have him. So we've got the sustainable credentials with Deborah, and then we've got the global reach with Peter. He has a business called Localize, where he can take our website and put it in any country in the world in their language and all the rest of that. So that's why we chose him. But to be honest, they were all brilliant.
And what's the relationship been like since you come out? You've had all the headlines. I suppose there's two questions. What's it been like for you once it aired? What was the experience?
It's been intense.
I think let's stick with that one and go on to the next question. So
okay. So we were first on that Thursday the 27th. We were first on in the den. We were on at 8:00. They didn't roll the credits before. We literally walked around the corner and we were on the TV, which is pretty insane in itself. 6 minutes past 8, the first order came in, and we did a Dragon's Den deal. So, you know, you get a nice little deal as part of us being on the show. And by midnight, we'd taken 851 orders through our website.
Wow. Great job. Glass of champagne while it was all coming in.
Too busy packing boxes.
Yeah. We had a party. We had a little watch party. My mum came down, some of our closest friends. And randomly, I'd bought a little counter that links to the website so you can see the orders coming in, which was really fun to have in the room. Anthony was like, this is a bit naff, but actually it was fun. It's a fun visual, and it's like one of the really old alarm clocks where the numbers flip over. Yeah, exactly. So we just watched that go, and everybody's like, it's got another one. So that was brilliant. But then, yes, the reality sets in that there were two of us in the business at that point. and we'd pre-packed 500 orders.
Okay, that's very sensible.
Yes, but what wasn't sensible of us on our website is it has a section saying often bought with. So most people added something to their drag. So open them anyway. But no complaints, absolutely no complaints. I think it was by lunchtime the following day, we'd taken something like 1,200 orders, which is not, I know some other people that have been in the den and they've had 15,000 orders. We had 3,000 orders, which for two of us in the business is quite phenomenal.
That's a lot. And you had stock?
We had stock. So that was another interesting one. So when I was developing this, of course, it was in COVID. So they're injection molded in one region and the logo's printed in another region. Okay. So we were either in lockdown or one of the two regions were in lockdown. And then when we started to ship, the boat got stuck in the Suez Canal. So we had all sorts of things to battle with. So I made the executive decision, to stock high.
Right.
And we're very lucky we did. Because I've spoken to lots of businesses that throw at me, should we want 10,000 dispensers? How long will it take? And I go, 5 working days, all right? And then they go, oh, okay, she's serious.
Yeah.
So we had plenty of stock, but we didn't have enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
So we quickly grew to 8 by the Monday. Yeah. And we're settled at about 6. Yeah. Yeah. We brought in, our elder son is in university, it's his first year, and some of his friends are taking gap years and things, and we're around. Very lucky. Friends also came in and helped, and our children came in and helped as well. So, yeah.
Right. So you must have had quite a lot of belief in the product when you bulk ordered all that volume, because that's often a massive challenge for any kind of startup, is how many do we order and negotiate with the factory, trying to get the price down, but you want a low volume. And
yeah, I've got total belief in the product. I know what it can do. I've seen what it can deliver, and we've, like I said, stopped 130,000 bottles, right? I have unwavering belief, and we were talking about this before. It's lucky that I'm married to my partner, or my husband, my business partner, because he carries the worry and I carry the belief, right? So sleepless nights were on his side and the belief was on mine. So it works well.
You were sleeping like a baby and good. Well, we could talk for hours about it, because I think all three of us work with our partners in one way or another.
Do you want to touch on that now?
Well, I tell you, we'll leave that little can of worms for towards the end. But I was quite keen to hear, actually, on that note, beyond clearly the investment, what were the additional benefits of being on the den from your perspective? And was there anything unexpected that's come off it because you've been on the den?
Absolutely. So obviously, massive influx of orders, D2C, direct to consumer through the website. What's really surprised me is the business inquiries we've had, and not just to take the dispensers into their business, but we've been asked for distributors all over the world have come to us, Papua New Guinea, South Africa, Nordics, Baltics, everywhere in between. I've been offered a job as a sustainability consultant for people. I've been offered or asked if I could source other sustainable products, because now I've got credibility in the sustainable space. I'm being asked to advise on that. The business impact it had has been really welcome, but really surprising, because I did honestly think it would be more our direct to consumer market that would be seeing that, when in fact it's driven everything. Distributors all over the world want this on their books. That's been immense.
And if you could put a monetary value on the marketing benefit of Dragon's Den, what do you think is added to your business?
Well, they say it's about £1 million.
Wow.
So £1 million of marketing, they say. For us, absolutely more than, I would say, more than, because it opens doors that I was banging on for years. People now coming to me that wouldn't return my emails when I was going to them. So That's lovely. Also, part of other sustainable initiatives. We're now we launch in retail tomorrow, which is really exciting. And the BBC want to cover that again.
Oh, that's great.
Which is fab. And that's just a small refill shop, an eco shop. But the mission is massive, right? So if we can get one of those in every town, fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's the extra pieces. People have asked to invest in the business. Am I inventing anything else? Can I work on their products with them? Can I help someone get an award? It's been, I think from 8 o'clock on a Thursday to the Sunday night, I got 16,000 messages from being on the Den.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And what's it been like working with Peter and Deborah post the Den? And obviously it's not only been a few months.
Yes, yeah. So Deborah doesn't run businesses day to day now. She's all about her investment. So we see a lot more of her. Peter, we've got a meeting in a couple of weeks, so that'll be on our socials. I'll be taking some pictures, things like that. But Deborah invited me up to another business, which is an investment of hers called Dock and Bay. I don't know if you know it. It's
I've heard of it, yeah.
They do microfiber like towels. They're absolutely amazing. And they're B Corp registered. So they had a 10th anniversary party and she invited me up. So I met some of the other businesses she's invested in and obviously met them. And that's the thing, isn't it? When people see you with others, I always think collabs work really well if you're aligned with the people you're working with because the reach is so much bigger. So again, they've been brilliant. Deborah, send her an email or pick up the phone. I've had a VC with her when I've been sat in the car and I've been doing it on my phone because I've been in between meetings. She loves it because what she wants is our business to be successful. And if they can help that, they will.
And beyond those meetings, has there anything been at this stage, which is really early days, has there been a tangible benefit of having them on board? Have they opened doors that you haven't already had open yet? Or is that kind of part of the future?
Nothing directly yet, but obviously being on the show and being chosen or choosing them on the show opened lots of doors that I couldn't previously even kick down. And I tried really hard.
So you're still in charge of your business?
Still in charge. And I don't think they have any intention of being in charge of our business. They want our business to do well on its own merits and us at the helm, because that's what impressed them when we went in.
So we've heard a lot about the successes and what's gone really well. Are there any kind of failures along the way or things that other people could learn from in their journey?
You'd get a different answer if you asked my husband. Let's say he wouldn't invest in the stock for sure. But it's like I said, I think I know it's worked in our favour to have so much. The only thing I would actually say to people is belief. If you're going to do it, do something that you completely believe in, because it's the only way you can authentically tell the story. Nobody knows this product like I do, because it was from a spark, my light bulb moment. I need to do something about this too. This does something about it. Yeah. So if you're doing something that you don't really love or you don't really believe in, chances are it's not going to be successful. And I think that's a life thing as well.
And how do you achieve the difference between belief but not being blinkered? So I know people who come up with an idea and then the first time they demonstrate it to somebody, they poke all holes in it and suddenly they're like, well, this is a rubbish idea, I'll stop doing it. As opposed to the belief, you demo it for the first time, you truly believe in it, you ignore the naysayers and you move on and maybe make it successful. But there's a balance, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I think, again, this is interesting with the dynamic between Anthony and I, because I see we've got a negative review, right? I'll pick that negative review to death. Why is it? What do you see? I can learn from those. That's market research, actually. The naysayers is market research. Somebody said to me, you've got to touch the top. I'm like, yes, you do. That's how it dispenses. But then the top's dirty. Well, you can wipe it, or actually you don't turn it off. It's not like a tap. So when you've touched it, then you wash your hands. Your hands are clean. Okay. But for me, the negatives think of the product in a way that I haven't. So I'll answer all of them, whether I think they're rubbish or not. So it doesn't take away my love and belief. I don't ignore them. Some of them I'll go, oh my Lord, seriously, you've got to turn it. That's you turn top, comes out the bottom. It's not rocket science, but you're dealing with people, right? So I like to take that and turn it into a positive. I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic. I will also have the tough conversation. One guy, like I said, bad review, said, well, he'd bought it because he saw the dragons liked it, but they've missed the point that you have to touch the top. And I'm like, I don't think they've missed the point at all. Actually think missed the point. But I can't say that. They realise you have to touch the top. He was saying he felt let down by me and the dragons because nobody told him he had to touch the top. And I'm a bit like,
I think you can't lose too much sleep over that, can you?
And that's the thing. You've got to compartmentalize the ones that bring value and the ones that don't.
Yeah.
So that's how I, but I've got a little file of it, future iteration ideas where people have said, can it do this? Can you do that with it? Can you make one for this? That's all going in a file because I pay for that research.
Yeah.
People are volunteering it.
And just talking about that and all these different ideas, I think, obviously you're a hugely creative person. You've come up with this. No doubt you've got all sorts of other ideas for this. And I appreciate you'll want to patent those. I'm not asking you what they are. But how do you decide out of those ideas what customers might come up with? How do you decide what you might develop next? Because obviously there's a cost to doing that and there must be a decision process there.
Yeah, there's a huge cost to doing it and people don't realise, how much it costs to take an idea into a product. Lots of people don't realise, can't you just do it like this? Can't it just do that? I take the feedback. I know the next steps I'm taking already. And some of those will tweak with the number of people that come to me. So if lots and lots of people want the same thing, there's a need for it in the market. I'm working on a bespoke version for a global hotel chain. So that's nice because they'll have it in their hotel, bespoke in their hotel, but also then I can put it on the market for D2C, which is great. But that's how I try and filter it out. As we said, compartmentalize what is in line with your plan for the business, answer the others, answer the naysayers, and then there's a third box where it's just not worth time.
So it's really interesting. So the one you're kind of definitely working on, I guess, is the one where you've got a clear route to market, you've got a customer already, you've got a clear brief from them, and you know that it's worth investing in because you can sell it at the end. Yeah, and that makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
And that'll be the first iteration, and then there's a second iteration, if you will, where lots of people are asking for, and there's a large percentage of the population who need it.
Yeah.
So that's the next iteration.
Yeah, so it's like genuine need, solving a genuine problem.
Exactly.
That's kind of critical criteria.
Absolutely.
And when you were developing this, obviously you didn't have those current customers and all that kind of feedback. So did you get any feedback in terms of the development of it to kind of reassure yourself there was a market for it?
No.
It's very honest. Thank you.
Actually spoke to my patent attorney. He was the first person that knew about what it was, because obviously you can't tell people if you're patenting something. It needs to be, top secret. He loved it. I loved it. That was enough for me. Didn't advise it. But,
I think when you go through life, you build that confidence in your own decision making as well. And I think some people don't, some people do. And I think clearly you are one of these people that backs yourself to make a good decision.
That's it. And that was part, we self-funded. I bootstrapped this business. Mm-hmm. So if it didn't work, I hadn't let anyone else down either. This was our money. This was my idea. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think when you're bootstrapping, you talked about IP protection and attorneys, and often people steer well clear of attorneys at that point. It's like, well, I can't afford the cost of patenting, and even if I can afford the cost of patenting, I can't afford the cost of defending that patent in court. I can't go to high court and spend millions of pounds. So what drove your decision to protect it and spend that money?
I knew there's nothing like this on the market, and it took a long time to build it. Someone said to me last week, what if someone else had come out with something in the meantime? I was like, it wasn't going to happen. It's so intricate. It doesn't look it, but the planning and the developing was so intricate. I knew it had to be patented for its own value and protection. And in fact, we've been invited to the Houses of Parliament in June to talk about why I protected it so well. We've not only patented the dispenser, we've patented the soap as well, which is really special.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. I knew if I was going to bring something to market that was completely brand new, and it had to be protected to the max. So I spent almost as much money on patents as I did on stocks. Lots of money. But I knew absolutely, and the value it's already added to the business was highlighted in the den as well. In fact, the day after, I had an email from the head of the patent attorney office saying, "Oh my lord, well done." Because it does. People don't appreciate the protection they need for their businesses and their products. And I really did see that. And when the patent attorney saw the drawings, we didn't even have a product when I started talking to him. He was like, absolutely, you need this nailed down, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we started.
So let me just really quickly interrupt this episode to talk to you about our IP attorney, who we work really closely with on a lot of our projects. Strachan IP have been kind enough to sponsor this episode, and Vicky at Strachan IP is the lady that I use for all of my own intellectual property work, and I've worked with her for 10 years, and she's absolutely fantastic. Critically, she gives honest, clear advice that you can really understand, and she'll do a half-hour consultation for free. The link is in the show notes. Let's get back to the episode.
And have you come across copycats?
Interestingly, there's a copycat out there, which I'm a bit upset with the British government allowing these cheap, nasty, unsafe versions to come into the UK. So there's one with, I'm not going to say where you can buy it, but basically the soap's held in with 3 needles. And at the bottom, the grating surface has little bits of razor blade.
Wow.
So as it spins, if you stick your finger in there, you can cut your finger. Ours, this is a domestic dispenser. That's what I started with it. So you can't hurt yourself. None of the bits come out, so it's not going to drop on anyone's foot or get broken. The grating surface at the bottom, you can put your finger on there. It's not going to hurt you. So yeah, it's the safety element of the cheap imports that come in that concern me more than them trying to rip me off.
And in terms of your IP protection, do you think Peter Jones would have invested if you hadn't got a patent on it?
I think he would have, because when he offered, we hadn't really discussed much about that. Sarah is all over her patents because obviously she invented something and she was like, oh my Lord, this is amazing. We're not talking about it, we've done it.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't go on there going, we'd like to do this.
Yeah.
We went on there and said, 100% belief in the product.
Yeah. And you did it properly. You'd spent the money, you'd got a proper product that was working, you got the protection in place. They can tell the seriousness at that point.
Absolutely. And we were already in, I think we were in over 200 households at the time and about 40 businesses. But I'd landed this global hotel chain, which was huge. We're now in about 3,500 households and about 200 and some businesses since the den. So
it's growing really rapidly.
Yeah, but the concept had been proven. And the first business that we took on was local to us, so that any issues at all, I could go out. The feedback was real, and it's a school. So it was children and animals, right? It was they were dealing with it. So, and they would find any chink in the armour, they would find it, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
It's like being paid to get some of the people to do your product research for you, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and we would go back in. As I mentioned earlier, they needed it to be tamper-proof, so the dispenser can't be removed from the wall mount and the soap can't be removed from the dispenser. So I went straight back to the drawing board and developed that could be retrofitted, which has been game-changing for them as well.
So we touched on kind of your personal characteristics, which have helped make this a success. So that kind of unerring belief that you clearly are prepared to take a risk because you ordered a lot of stock. You're also clearly very open to feedback because of what we've just said and what you've kind of just shared. Is there anything else in terms of your kind of personality or characteristics that you think really has helped drive the success of it?
I think my determination, I think my passion and determination is what I'm always fed back with.
Yeah.
I've stood in the middle of the NEC at BBC Gardeners World Live one end and the food show at the other end, and I've been in the middle stopping everyone going, solid soap dispenser, solid. So I've been on the ground with this from day one. I didn't pass it to anyone. Yeah. Everything that this is because I put the yards in. I put the hard yards in from day one. Got the feedback, took it out there, spoke to people, showed my car because I've got an electric car at events, and then went on to speak about setting up businesses. I've been on podcasts and, live TV demonstrating it and all sorts of things. So I think that my dog-eared determination to get this out there and the passion and belief in the brand, which is why I think running a business is really hard. People don't realise how hard it really is. And if you're not all in, it won't work.
Yeah.
You've got to be all in.
And I think it makes a massive difference when you really believe in it for another reason as well. You're not just doing it because you want to make £1 million by this time next year or whatever else. You're doing it because you genuinely believe in what it's doing for the wider environment. And I've heard that said a lot. And I think it is so hard. So there's got to be something else that's also driving you. There's got to be that underlying passion.
Absolutely. And when I started this, my husband had his own job. He ran a international company. So this wasn't to make me my fortune. This was to solve a real problem that I had, and therefore, having done some research, knew everyone else had as well. They didn't realise they had the problem. That's the education, right? And that's the piece that comes with that. So I dug deep on the research to understand numbers of bottles, ingredients, and difference between wash and soap and all the rest of it. So when I can speak to people, if I don't know the answer, I won't tell you I do. I'll tell you I'll come back to you. But I've done a lot of work to know what the answers are.
Yeah.
And that is what I think a lot of people don't see goes on behind a company. They think, you went on Dragon's Den and it's brilliant and you thought of it one day and it popped out the next day. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of years, there's a lot of money, and there's even more hours that goes into creating anything.
Yeah. So let's touch on working with your husband, because it's a subject close to my heart, because Hannah's in D2M, our design consultancy, with me. We affectionately call her the dream killer because she talks to all the new inquiries. And
this is new to me. This is brilliant.
Well, her job is to talk to all the new inquiries. And of course, quite a lot of them come to us, like you just said, without realising what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. They just think they're going to be a millionaire next year. And Hannah is very straightforward, very honest, and makes absolutely certain before they spend any money at all with us that they know what they're getting into. And if there's any fundamental issues with it, like, for example, it's an accessory for a car because it's almost impossible to get something into the automotive industry, for example, they're just very, very closed. Any of those kind of things that we tell them. And people get shocked because they're like, hang on a second, wouldn't you make money out of this if you told me it was great? And it was like, yeah, but we want to sleep at night. We're building a long-term business. We're not here just to take, a few £1,000s off some people for something that is never going to work. We want to work with clients that are long-term with stuff that works. So, but back to the point. I work with my wife. You, Tom, work with your wife, Chloe, on your project as well. So tell us about that. How is it working with your husband?
Oh,
now, don't hold back.
It's
someone I know,
isn't it? Listen, it has its pluses and minuses, doesn't it? You get to share the successes. That's nice. But again, running a business is really hard. So when you're doing it with the person you live with, you can't switch off. You never, ever are not working. I made a joke in lockdown when we were all working from home. Actually, we were living at work, weren't we? And when you work with your other half, you live work. Even the children are getting bored of us talking work at the dinner table. It's like, guys, come on, can we watch a film or something? Bing. Oh no, let me get the email. We are polar opposites. So sometimes that works really well and sometimes it doesn't. We've been together a long time. And as I alluded to earlier, Anthony is the worrier. Okay, so he's the pessimist to my optimism, so that we are balanced.
He's a warrior, or would you say a realist? Would he say realist, or would he say warrior?
Oh, I think he would admit he's a warrior.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he would. Yeah, I think it's interesting in life. Not often do surprises in your life, something that changes really quickly, be a positive. So Anthony's always erring on the side of caution, whereas I'm like, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. So we complement each other in that way. Does it lead to friction? Yes, it does.
Well, I was going to ask more than that. Does it lead to blazing rows at times?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes, I think our daughter said, you guys argue all the time. And actually, we're depleting something. So we don't even see it as an argument. But I suppose it's different for children. Yeah, we will thrash things out. But I think that's how it goes, isn't it?
I think it's couple shorthand, I would describe it as.
Yes.
I wouldn't call it a blazing row. I call it couple shorthand to get to the conclusion as quickly as possible without having to dance around with that. I got it from our experience, Chloe and I think what worked really nicely is that delineation of projects and responsibility. And I trust her completely to do her projects. She trusts me to do my projects. And very rarely will she come and say, Tom, I really need your opinion on this, and vice versa. And so it's a very, so far, touch wood, very efficient way of working together. And you then start to learn and appreciate each other's pros and cons and strengths. And so it's been from our part, are fairly positive.
Yeah, and I think I'd echo that in terms of the way Hannah and I work together. So, as I said, Hannah deals with the new inquiry side of the business and gets all the proposals out. And she's quite clear, I'm not allowed to touch any of that. But I do a lot of the marketing and all that kind of side of things. And equally, that's my domain, and she doesn't kind of come into that. And I think that delineation of roles does make it certainly a lot easier.
That's essential, I think, because it's too easy when you're that close to step on each other's toes. You have a different relationship with your partner to anyone else in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you ask them to do something, they need to do it. Whereas your partner can go, actually, maybe we should do it like that, which is not always great, but it does always, again, I think about it. I'm like, actually, is that a better way? Should we do it? We have very clear roles and responsibilities as well, which definitely helps. But it does mean, so for people who think, again, the business is easy, and let's do it with my husband or my wife because it'll be a fun little project together. Little delusional, maybe. But you've got to be realistic, haven't you?
Yeah.
So sadly, I think we're coming towards the end of the conversation. And normally, this is where I hand the mic over, proverbially back over to you to, is there any last thoughts? But as we've been chatting, and I know that you and I have had a number of conversations in person and in preparation for this conversation, I know there's a bit we haven't yet covered, which is, could you just explain, because we should have done this earlier, but it's my fault that I didn't get around to doing it, but could you explain what happens to the water when it's a normal kind of gel hand wash and what that means to the environment versus using soap like yours?
Absolutely. So washes, as I said, cause the bubble blanket for a start, and they need to go through water treatment works to be filtered. Not all the nanoplastics in those washes can be filtered out. So they end up back in the rivers, back on the land, grazing animals, eat them. We eat the animals. And we all know there's no part of our body now which is plastic free, by the way. We've found plastic everywhere. With soap, because it envelops the bacteria, and that was the other thing we didn't talk about, anti-bac as well. So I might just touch on that. It envelops the bacteria and safely removes it. So that water is grey. It doesn't need to go through water treatment. It is safe for the land and it's safe for the rivers. Yeah. So when you think of festivals or camping sites or basically anyone, we have a septic tank at home. So it's really nice for me to know that what's going into that is safe and clean, no nanoplastics, no nasties. And that's the difference on that.
So again, no nanoplastic.
No nanoplastics, no nasties. It's just, it's just safe.
So when it's the hand gel, it becomes black water. Is that correct?
Hand wash. So the gels are normally anti-bac, and that's causing antimicrobial and antibiotic resistance. Right. So people say, oh, your soap's anti-bac. Absolutely not. I'm not touching it with a barge pole. No scientific evidence that it cleans better. It kills 99.9% of germs, and the 0.1 that's left mutates into being resistant because it has to try and replicate and live, right? The bacteria is a living thing. With soap, and Snope especially, it envelops the bacteria and safely removes it, not causing any antimicrobial or antibiotic resistance, not perpetuating that cycle for the user or for whoever or whatever's down the chain on the waterfront as well. So anti-bac, absolutely no clinical proof that gives a better wash. It's worse for us, often kills the bacteria, good and bad, and leaves it on your hands as well. So if you then wash your hands before you pick up your sandwich in anti-bac, you are ingesting the dead bacteria along with your sandwich. I'd rather not. I'd rather not.
And my final point, because I just really want to get this clear, because I'm so enthusiastic about the importance of, obviously, environmental sustainable products, is I guess with that black water, it has to go through processing. So there's got a carbon footprint difference as well.
Huge carbon footprint difference on the wastewater. Okay, obviously, Snope in your business also removes the plastic out your waste, which we have to pay to have removed.
Yeah.
And then we know what problems that cause. But Snope has less than 10% the carbon footprint of liquid wash. And that's packaging, transport. Most of liquid wash, 90+% is water that was being bottled somewhere abroad in a bottle we're going to throw away and shipped around. So the carbon footprint of just shipping it's massive. With Snope, you're getting the active ingredient only. You add local water wherever you are and whatever you're doing. So yeah, less than 10% the carbon footprint, cleaner wastewater, better for your skin and hair, no single-use plastic.
So if people want to buy one, where do they need to go?
They can go to snope.com.
Fantastic. And we'll put that link in the show notes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sparing the time for us. Really appreciate it. And there's some fantastic advice and stuff in there for everyone listening. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.